Okay, let's talk to Tyler Orton from Business in Vancouver. Good morning, Tyler.
Good morning, Sonia.
Let's start off with Apple. They have some new numbers out today, and it looks like iPhones are not as popular as they once were.
No, analysts already had lowered expectations for these quarterly financial results came out, but these expectations, they weren't low enough, apparently. If we take a look at the numbers, I'll explain why. Now, revenue, that's sales, essentially, was estimated to be $50 to $53 billion US. Analysts were expecting closer along the lines of $55 billion US. If you look at the profit that they brought in, it's actually record profits. It's over $18 billion US. But this is tempered by big drops in, well, I shouldn't say drops, just very, very slow growth when it comes to sales. In fact, the lowest growth we've seen since 2003 when it comes to Apple. iPhone sales, they're just not doing what they once were. This growth we see here is just 0.3% compared to the same period a year ago. So this is bringing up a lot of questions about whether the smartphone market has just become saturated or whether Apple's just failing to innovate going forward. So what does this mean for consumers possibly? I don't think we should expect any price drops from Apple for them to compete with their competitors even better. What you may have is more pressure on Apple to innovate when it comes to their upcoming iPhone, which we can assume is probably going to be called the iPhone 7. Now, whether the 7 is able to build on other innovations that they had with the 6S, like the 3D Touch, which kind of fell flat a little bit because there's just a limited number of apps that can use that we're going to have to wait and see. The one silver lining here is that growth in China is still taking off because the iPhone was only introduced into that market just very recently. But for Canada especially, we're seeing it really kind of flatline going forward at this point.
Well, it's a shame you said that you're saying they won't really reduce the price, which is a shame because they're pretty expensive handsets. So
yeah,
it would possibly bring in extra business or help save the iPhone from just completely disappearing. I'm sure that's never going to happen, though.
I don't think they want to do that.
No. The BC oil market, now, you've got some news on what's going on there for us this morning as well.
Yeah, economists, TD Economics, they're downgrading their forecast for the Canadian economy because, look, the oil shock that started to occur back in 2014, it's having far wider impacts on the overall economy across the country than economists originally expected. The one silver lining, though, is that BC is still projected to be the #1 growing economy in the entire country. If we take a look at the numbers, BC and Ontario are the only two provinces projected to have economic growth above 2% in 2016. Take a look at Alberta. They're having minus 0.3% growth. Their economy is shrinking this year. But BC is actually kind of benefiting from this because what the economists are saying is that the impacts on Alberta is both a blessing and a curse on British Columbia and to a lesser extent Ontario as well. The reason why is because there's a lot of interprovincial trade between BC and Alberta. So if the Alberta economy slows down, that has an impact on BC industries. The reason why BC is actually benefiting, though, is because we're getting a lot of these skilled workers leaving Alberta, coming into British Columbia. So that's having a big impact on our retail markets, our employment markets, and especially, this is the key here, the housing markets. It's the housing markets that are actually really pushing Ontario and British Columbia to be the economic growth leaders for the country in this year that has just begun. We've seen sales growth in BC, home price sales, I should say, at more than 11% to end 2015. So even these Albertans, some of them used to live in British Columbia, they're coming back to BC, and that's going to have an impact on the housing market too.
All right, Tyler, thank you very much for that. Have a lovely day. Tyler Orton from Business in Vancouver. Thank you.